Fire in the Sky is the allegedly true story of a man named Travis Walton, who was a logger in a small Arizona town who was abducted by a UFO and taken aboard an alien spacecraft. At the very least, it's the true story of his disappearance and kind of the scandal that it causes in this small town until he reappears a few days later. I hadn't seen this movie in many, 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 many years. I first saw it when I was just a little kid, actually, maybe 6 or 7 years old. Saw it on cable, and it traumatized me. It scared the hell out of me. I found it to be, a very uh, effective movie, I guess, and kept me up late at night, gave me nightmares, things like that. And if you've seen the movie, you know exactly why that may be, and the exact scene that caused this fright. If you haven't, basically, there's one scene, kind of the tentpole scene of the movie, that appears almost at the very end of the film, that shows Travis Walton's flashback to being on this alien ship and revealing the alien beings and performing strange experiments on him and him trying to escape, and it's this really surreal and very real feeling sequence that's very, very well done. So, having watched it now recently as an adult, I mean, it doesn't scare me as much. So I still think it's a well done scene, and the production values on the screen certainly, and it's definitely still effective. It doesn't scare me, give me nightmares the way it did when I was a kid. But watching it now as an adult, I guess I kind of am forced to evaluate the movie differently, think about it in a different kind of way, and I guess kind of assess if does this movie as a whole does it work in its entirety other than just this one scary scene? Like, does it justify its own existence? I guess because I mean you could see how under different circumstances maybe this would have been, say, like a TV movie of the week or something like that, with a smaller budget, not as convincing, or even like a segment on unsolved mysteries or something like that. But somewhere along the line, uh, producers decided to take Walton's book, which outlines the accounts, and adapt it into a properly budgeted big screen film, and justifying the story in that way. So, is it kind of worth doing that beyond just the scene itself? So that's kind of what was going on in my mind watching the movie, and I'll say it's a fair movie altogether. It kind of goes about itself in different ways as the movie progresses. It goes through different moods, different ways of telling the story. Like it's a slow moving movie, I guess. Like as it begins, it does kind of show Travis Walton's life before this experience, and him working with the other loggers, and his life, his girlfriend, and his financial struggles as well, which kind of plant the seeds of what would later become doubt about his story. If he's just doing it for financial gain, for publicity, things like that. It shows his relationship with his best friend, played by Robert Patrick, and that kind of becomes a focus of the film as well. Walton is played by D.B. Sweeney, and his best friend Mike is played by the T-1000 himself, Robert Patrick. So there's a lot with them in the beginning portions of the film, which just kind of lay out the groundwork until finally we get to see this abduction from the flying saucer. And then what it kind of moves into, the scandal of the disappearance and very real concerns that his co-workers feel about the disappearance, and that they seem to be investigated for his murder, for foul play. And it's especially tense because no one really believes their story, that he was taken by a UFO. Like, are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. And the the legal fact being that with a good enough burden of proof, you wouldn't necessarily need Travis Walton's dead body to show up in order to charge them for murder, and so that becomes a real point of tension amongst them. And a lot of it is the sheriff coming into town. James Garner, always a pro, always fun to see. He's kind of getting their stories, and it's kind of framed that way too, and talking to the different workers. One of which, by the way, is Henry Thomas, who has no is no stranger to extraterrestrial encounters himself, being the young boy in E.T., of course, and a whole drama with taking a lie detector test and kind of trying to prove their innocence, basically. And that's kind of a large portion of the film from which Travis Walton is absent. So the focus kind of wanes more towards the Mike character, Robert Patrick, and all the drama there. So there's high drama, high stakes, and finally, when we do get into kind of the last act of the movie, when Walton does return under equally mysterious circumstances, it sort of becomes, sort of a drama about him trying to adjust back to life after this traumatizing experience, which he's yet to be able to express, to talk about. Like, when he returns, he's almost like catatonic. But there's also kind of this unfinished business between him and Mike, and how, why'd you leave me? So it definitely pushes into the character-based drama between the friends and between having to adjust and things like that. But then it is punctuated by this flashback scene where we see Travis on the ship, and the really kind of convincing depiction of an alien ship. Like, there's stuff like anti-gravity. He's kind of floating around and stuff, and trying to make his way from the ship. And there's the really, really good alien effects, and we see these alien beings, and they are, I'd say, for the most part, kind of like the general idea of what an alien is. Like the big head, the pale skin, and like what you'd see, on the emoji, I guess, the big eyes and stuff like that. So good depiction of aliens, and a really scary, frightening scene where he's trying to make this escape, and he's just confused and terrified, and we as the audience are as well, and it's a great scene. It really is. I mean, it is the tentpole scene of the movie. It's what justifies making this movie into something more of a high budget feature film than something like, a little cheaper and cheesier. So I think that helps the movie. So, on the whole, I would say that it's a good movie. It's a worthwhile movie, especially if you're interested in stuff about, aliens and alien abductions and true accounts and things like that. I mean, definitely when I saw it as a kid, it did, while it really scared me, it is kind of funny how fear of something will inspire a certain curiosity about it too. Like, it's the same with, when I saw Jaws, I got interested in sharks, started, reading all these books about sharks, or Jurassic Park, I got interested in dinosaurs, reading books about dinosaurs and stuff. Same with Fire in the Sky. I was interested in aliens and UFOs, so I checked out a lot of books about that as well. So it's an interesting thing. I guess it was kind of a seminal movie from my childhood in a lot of ways, and got me interested in learning about stuff like that. I guess kind of also what you're left with is asking the question, do you believe the story? Do you believe in aliens? Which, I guess it's kind of the question you leave yourself with. I personally don't know. I don't know necessarily if there's aliens that look exactly like this. Like even like the movie itself, it seems to embellish Walton's accounts quite a bit from what I understand. Uh, I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think of. If we're not necessarily alone in this universe, if there are alien beings out there, I find myself a little bit skeptical, but I guess I'm always open to the possibility. I guess, but I don't know. I guess it's up to the individual what they think, but I don't know. I'd lean more towards skeptical, though I do enjoy the movie, and I find it entertaining, and I especially find uh, the scene on this ship terrific. I find it great. I'd say just on this scene alone, yeah, it's worth seeing. But if you're willing to stick around for the rest, there's decent enough drama, and more of the true story of the scandal for the skeptics. So kind of get the best of both worlds with the movie. So what else can you really ask for? That's my review. Fire in the Sky. Thanks very much for watching. It's 31 Days of Horror. We're confronting all our fears this month. New horror movie reviews all throughout October. Be sure to stay tuned for more. Be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. Stay scared, and until next time, keep watching the skies.